Well, I can hear myself in the background, so that must mean that the internet is treating us well. Um, Greetings from Seattle, actually, even a different part of the West Coast in North America, but live from Seattle. It is, yes, just after midnight here on Sunday evening, now Monday morning. But it's a pleasure to be able to join. I've been to the event a number of years running. It's one of my favorite events around the world, and I definitely am going to miss being in Berlin for the event this year. I look forward to being able to get back in the future when we start traveling more regularly again. In my time, and the team has been gracious to give me some time to talk to everybody. I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about our perspective on digital transformation, some of the things we think our customers think a lot about in building new services, and how you need to really think through how you exist both from the edge all the way through to the cloud. And I'm not going to tell this audience something you already know, but I will point out the explosion of IoT devices and the explosion of data from those devices is something we continue to see in the market. Perhaps not as quickly as some analysts thought up front, but I think the promise of a hyper-connected world is certainly coming to fruition. And that's important to note, because the question isn't how we're going to connect those devices or if those devices are going to be connected, but rather, if you knew the state of all of those things, as you instrument the physical world, if you knew the state of all those things and you had this unlimited reason to unlimited ability to reason upon that data, what problems would you solve? That's really what it's all about for us, is what business problems are we helping our customers solve at the end of the day. And so it's not about protocols, and it's not about what chip or what radio or what piece of equipment. At the end of the day, it's about what business problems we're solving for those customers and the problems that they're solving for their customers in turn. And so we think a lot about that. We have customers in IoT across so many different industries, from heavy industrial scenarios, enterprise customers, and even the connected home. And you can see from this slide just a sampling of the kinds of customers that we're working with. And so we've heard a lot of their journey, what they've had to go through, the ups and downs of the projects that they've started, and what has been successful. And I wanted to sort of share with you some of what we've learned working with those customers day in and day out. And really, when we talk about solving problems, you're talking about solving these challenging industry-wide enterprise scale kinds of problems of, improving performance and productivity in manufacturing, to managing energy and resources more efficiently, to finding ways to treat patients, something incredibly important in this day and age, as we've all come to learn. Transforming transportation, thinking about how we feed the world, fundamentally changing supply chains, thinking about how we build new products and services, enhancing workplace safety and helping employees be more productive, and even changing the day-to-day for everyday consumers. The number of problems that our customers are thinking about are incredibly wide-reaching. And at the end of the day, they're trying to enable two key business outcomes. And I've talked about this before at this event, and others, and this definitely resonates really with a lot of our customers, that at the end of the day, we find that organizations are either trying to use data to drive efficiency, operational efficiency, or they're trying to drive some level of revenue growth, or they're trying to do that at the same time. And of course, on the right-hand side of that slide, the concept of driving operational efficiency is probably where a lot of people's time is focused, partially because it's a relatively straightforward kind of discussion. If I invest $100 and I can save you $1,000, is that something you'd be interested in? Well, of course, if that's the ROI pitch internally to secure budget and approval for projects. But it's that changing and finding revenue growth, which is, you know, super fascinating for a lot of organizations, but can also be a place fraught with challenges as you really look to push established business models to change the way the organization thinks, to make fundamental bets on your business and changing what you build and sell. And so you see a lot of projects start on the right and hopefully evolve over time to incorporate more of what's on the left. And all of that sort of enablers of trying to solve these problems, we think, are going to drive some fundamentally new industrial market trends, things that we have all started to see emerge across industry. The move from mass production to mass customization, from paying up front to paying as you go, from moving from manual processes to more automation, and moving from a buy to a subscribe kind of economic model. And customers are spending a lot of time thinking through all aspects of this, particularly in industrial and manufacturing and similar kinds of industries. Now, one of our best known customers doing this right now, and probably one of the most interesting projects we're working on, is the partnership that we have with our friends at Volkswagen. Volkswagen has selected AWS to build their industrial cloud, a ambitious project to connect over 120 of their facilities around the world, to converge their existing IT operations with new and powerful applications and ways to use data, to combine that with the operational side of their manufacturing facilities to drive new kinds of efficiencies and drive new cost savings as they look to enhance how they build their products for their customers. But they're actually taking that a step further and expanding that industrial cloud out to their supply chain, the 30,000 suppliers that Volkswagen has around the world. They've begun an effort now to extend that industrial cloud beyond Volkswagen internally to start to incorporate some of those suppliers. That's an incredibly exciting part of the Volkswagen project that we're working on. We're learning a lot hand in hand with Volkswagen, but I think this is probably one of the largest and best examples of an organization embracing digital transformation at an unprecedented scale and pace of innovation. But it can be hard. And I think whether you're Volkswagen or anyone else, this kind of transformation can be very, very difficult. Instrumenting the physical world takes time and energy and often investment, particularly for brownfield fleets of equipment. Security and privacy remain top of mind, a real day zero kind of priority. Organizations have to think through how they manage data, and they may not have the tools or the expertise internally to do that. The return on investments from some of these projects often have very long time horizons, and so you have to have patience to be able to draw the insights and see the efficiencies from these projects. And like I said before, sometimes you're challenging existing business models, which can cause internal friction. And so our most successful customers have learned quite a few things. I mean, number one is that organizational buy-in for these kinds of endeavors cannot be underestimated. This cannot be something done in the lab. It really needs to come from the top of the organization down. It needs to be embraced across disciplines and across departments inside of an organization. We see so many proof of concepts in the IoT world fail because they lack that organizational buy-in, and while they look good in the lab, they simply don't come to fruition in the mainstream of the business. Our customers have discovered that nothing gets smarter without data, that this technology can help create new seamless and effortless customer experiences. And most importantly, you really need to think about disrupting before you are disrupted, but also keeping in mind a phrase that we love to say, which is that there is no compression algorithm for experience, meaning your experience as an organization may have come from decades, maybe hundreds of years of being excellent at what you do. And that is hard to replicate for anyone to come along and disrupt you. But at the same time, as you're trying to transform that experience into something new, you also want to be working with people whose experience is matched in other ways, and that the compression algorithm for experience on that side is important, as well as you pick the partners that are going to help you through this. And so this journey, I think, comes in three parts. And this is the other thing that our customers have really talked about as they think through the projects that they have in place. It starts, some of this can be done. It doesn't have to be steps and perfectly in parallel. Some of this can be done at the same time. But overwhelmingly, we see this as a very common pattern, that it starts with changing what you build. Connected products and evolving experiences, products that evolve over time, and the value-added services that a connected world can bring. And then it moves to changing how you operate, thinking about operational efficiency and predictive response and supply chain enhancements and smart manufacturing as examples. And then with those two things as a baseline, it moves to really fundamentally changing the economics of our organization. And so we spend a lot of time thinking in these sort of three stages of evolution, the three stages of that digital transformation journey, as we work with a lot of our customers around the world. So that's what we've discovered. We understand sort of why customers want to embark on this, to be able to enhance what they do for their customers, to change their businesses. We've learned a lot of the characteristics of the organizations that are successful, like I've talked about. But what else have we learned? Well, the next is that you really can't transform your business without leveraging data. And at the end of the day, I think what so many organizations have discovered is that the reach of machine learning is both powerful and growing, where maybe it was in the realm of predictive response and forecasting. It's gone into areas from everything from translation and transcription into fraud detection, and it's impacting personalization in the consumer space and healthcare and manufacturing and automotive implications, and there's really limitless possibilities for how data and advanced machine learning and analytics can help you. And at AWS, we have tens of thousands of customers that have embarked on this journey of better using data. We have as a goal to put machine learning in the hands of every organization of any size. And we really have spent a lot of time thinking through the tools and the services to make it easy as possible for our customers to think of what is possible in terms of machine learning, really helping to transform and bring insights to what they do. I'll give you a couple of fun examples. Like I mentioned, it's still Sunday here in the US, and so I've just finished a day of watching some football. Now, there weren't any fans in the stands, but it is good to have sports back. But the reason I bring this up, despite my Seattle Seahawks winning today, is that the NFL is an excellent example of an organization that has embraced data. And we're helping them process 3 terabytes of data and 1,500 hours of playtime every week. They get sensors from the players and from equipment on the field, and they'll be able to do incredibly advanced analytics on the play on the field, enhancing what the fans see, but also translating into what the coaching staff and the players and these elite athletes themselves can use with that data. It's really an amazing transformation of how the NFL is using data. in ways that previously they never thought was possible, and they're doing it using tools like Amazon SageMaker and the rest of our machine learning stack to do that. It's a great example of IoT in action and machine learning in action to help transform, in that case, entertainment, but also athletics. But we see customers doing other things as well, transforming customer experiences, improving their business operations, making faster decisions, and fundamentally just driving innovation at the core of what they do. Another great example I like to talk about is the work we've done with Georgia-Pacific. Obviously a huge paper manufacturer, large industrial organization. They, like many of our customers, focus on product quality as one of those primary operational efficiency metrics that they monitor. Now, if you can imagine in a paper plant, and in this particular example, making toilet paper, these are huge operations producing massive amounts of product every day. And any variation in the creation of that, in the manufacture of that product, can result in huge amounts of waste, downtime, but also disruption in the supply chain. When these finely tuned industrial and operational setups fall behind, there's downstream impact for that product being shipped out, for it arriving on the shelves in stores and so forth. And so we've worked with Georgia-Pacific to instrument their industrial operations. Using that data, they've used AWS SageMaker to build machine learning models to help them both analyze the data coming from the product quality sensors, but also do predictive analysis to get ahead of these failures in advance. And on one of their key production lines, they've actually been able to reduce tears in the paper runs by 40%. That's one of the #1 things that causes waste and failure on the product line, just by using that data in a smarter way. And so data sort of brings to mind another sort of trend that we're seeing in manufacturing. Obviously, data is a fundamental enabler for our manufacturing customers, but so are a number of other things that we've alluded to already in this presentation. The idea of, sort of digitally executed manufacturing, being able to build that product as a service, building truly connected products that can evolve over time, and also using data for sustainability and environmental improvements in their operations. It almost becomes a bit of a flywheel, is what we see with a lot of our customers, using data, this manufacturing data flywheel that goes from not only inside the factory and improvements in uptime and product quality and overall yield, but those factory operations then feed improvements on the products themselves. And so the life cycle management and the product improvements that come from data and increases in customer satisfaction and ultimately loyalty in that product then can feed improvements in product development and design, as you think about how this feeds into your research and development cycle. And again, those improvements in your research and development cycle feed back into what you're building on the factory side. And so many customers find this flywheel incredibly impactful for their business, but sometimes difficult to get to. So one of the things we've done in conjunction, partly working with customers like Volkswagen and others, working with partners like our friends at Siemens, as a good example, we've thought through how to make the connected factory something easier for any organization to achieve. And so as part of our manufacturing focus here at AWS, the concept of the connected factory as a starting point, as a reference architecture and quick start for our customers, it's actually an offering that we have combined with flat rate professional services, industrial gateways and equipment, additional applications from our partners, all designed to get the connected factory up and running in a matter of days and weeks instead of months or years that sometimes, in the investment dollars that sometimes comes with these kinds of projects. And our ultimate goal is to give as many customers as possible a baseline of the ability to instrument their operations, to be ingesting data and using that effectively as quickly as possible, to be able to visualize in near real time their operational metrics and move to these kinds of advanced analytics like I've talked about with some of these customers. But at the end of the day, the other thing we've heard is that, you know, true innovation to achieve what we've talked about requires incredibly powerful and flexible tools that allow your teams to build and experiment and scale as quickly as possible. And so at AWS, we've done a number of things, including the investments we've made in our IoT services, known as AWS IoT, which is a full range of services designed to connect the physical world to the cloud, to ingest data and make it manageable, and to derive insights from that data, and to be able to operate at the edge, and then combine that with the powerful ML, AI, and analytics services available from AWS. An example of a customer doing that today is Enel, who uses our IoT services and our edge services to collect data from their distributed operations to help them predict failure and to monitor their operations across a broad geographic range and the different types of operations, and to do that effectively and at scale and very cost effectively as well. But as Enel has discovered, like so many customers, one of the challenges that you have is working at the edge can be incredibly challenging, and for a number of reasons. The law of physics and disconnected sites and low bandwidth environment, the economics of moving data that can be relatively expensive even at low cost when you're dealing with massive amounts of data, and even the laws of the land and regulations of what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do sometimes forces you to need to be and want to be closer to the edge at times and leverage the cloud when it's smart. And so we think a lot about how do you build an incredibly intelligent edge to cloud kind of architecture that contemplates those IoT devices in the field, but combines it with the industrial infrastructure, the ruggedized environments that you need, what has to exist on premise, how you take advantage of new advancements like in 5G for connectivity, and be as smart and efficient as you can out on the edge, and combine that with the power that we know that the cloud brings. And so for us, we think about it as a bit of a continuum. Services at the edge, things like AWS IoT Greengrass that allows you to deploy incredibly easily IoT applications on any kind of device, or Amazon FreeRTOS to power the smallest of microcontroller powered devices out in the world, to ruggedized devices like our Snowball family to be able to be on premise and in incredibly hostile environments at times, and then to think through the kinds of infrastructure you need to be either on premise at the network's edge in a 5G kind of mode, or as close to operations in a local kind of zone that allows for the responsiveness of the kinds of applications that customers are looking to build. And a couple of examples of the work that we're doing here. One would be AWS Outposts. This is an example of one of the racks that we provide. This is the same kind of equipment that we deploy into our own data centers. An AWS Outpost rack is installed by AWS, includes a number of the technologies and services that cloud developers have become accustomed to, is managed through AWS, and gives you that ability to seamlessly move between what needs to be on premise and needs to be in the cloud in an incredibly powerful way. Or AWS Wavelength, which we're working in partnership with several service providers around the world to bring some of the intelligence of the cloud right to the edge of the 5G network, so that you can have those ultra low latency, high bandwidth kinds of applications in AR, VR, in video, in IoT, and others, and make that available to any developer and any organization of any size as easily as possible. And when you put it all together, and you combine IoT and machine learning with robotics and edge computing and that concept of a digital twin, it can be a really incredibly powerful and transformational thing for an organization. And an example of that is the work that we've done with Woodside Energy in Australia. They are a great example of somebody who's taken our technologies and pulled together this incredibly powerful visual and data-backed digital representation of their operations. It allows them to do monitoring and predictive maintenance and remote maintenance and operator assistance out in the field. They can do fly-throughs of their environments at incredible fidelity. They've actually built robots that move around these facilities. They built a digital environment to allow their staff to really zoom in on any part of their operations. It's a really incredible thing that Woodside's done. And this is the kind of thing, when you put these technologies together, that become possible. We also think quite a bit about this ourselves. And so this sort of comes back to that point of there is no compression algorithm for experience. So what we've discovered is our customers, they really want to take that experience inside their organization of helping their customers, of being the best in their industries, and combine it with best in breed technologies that allow them to innovate as quickly as possible. And they look to a partner who understands the challenges and the opportunity that digital transformation brings. And here across Amazon, we understand that as well. Maybe more than any other provider, we live this every day. And just like many of you, if you're customers of AWS, much of Amazon is a customer of ours, just like you are. And we combine sort of the advanced technologies with our internal culture of innovation and really pushing the bounds of what's possible with technology. And we learn a lot in what it takes to do these incredible kinds of things. You know, we have 175 fulfillment centers around the world, 50 of them fully robotic, 200,000 robotic drive units across those facilities, tens of thousands of trailers in our fleet from a supply chain perspective, and millions of Echo devices and Alexa powered devices around the world. We take this, and while sometimes we do commercialize some of the technology that comes out of here, maybe the most important thing is we understand the pain that our customers go through in building this, because we've done it ourselves, and we share those battle stories, and we share that experience with our customers to help them be successful as well, because we've lived through it and we've breathed what is possible and what it takes to absolutely get there. So I hope this has been sort of a good view as to how we think about digital transformation. I know a number of our staff are there. Again, I really wish I was able to be there in person once again, but we do have a presence of some of our staff are there at the show. Reach out to those to all of those Amazon individuals that are there. If you have an account team that you're working with day in, day out, and some of what I've talked about has resonated, please do reach out and help and look to us for help. But remember, I think at the end of the day, organizations that embrace these technologies, that become technologists at their core, that think through what it takes to deal with this flood of data that the connected world is going to bring, that thinks through really what is possible in transformation, I think are going to have a leg up as we look into the future, particularly I think in this time in coming out of the pandemic, that we've all learned so much about what it means to live in a digital world, and sort of what we've taken for granted, but also what is possible. Again, on behalf of everybody at AWS, we hope you have an amazing couple of days, and we're glad to be a part of the show. And I'll hand it back to the organizers as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mark, and thanks for staying up that late. Looking forward to see you next year in person again, hopefully. Any questions from the audience? Anyone? Doesn't look like right now. Is there a question from the virtual team? Andrea.
So far, we don't have a question from the virtual audience.
Okay, I think, Mark, people are overwhelmed and seeing the potential. And I think it's important that we see the potential we have here and making sure that technology is really being leveraged to move companies forward in that way. But as I said earlier, don't forget the people and the change management in that situation. But I think you agree there, Mark, as well.
Absolutely. Well, to everybody, if there are any follow-up questions, we're happy to answer them if there's none left for today. But again, it was a real pleasure to be involved in the event again this year, even if only virtually. It was my pleasure to stay up. This was a lot of fun, and hopefully it was useful to everybody there.
All right. Thank you very much, Mark.
Have a good one. Thank you.
You too.